Hi, Ashish. Thank you for joining us today. I know we're going to talk about software, so I appreciate that. I know it's been on the top of everybody's mind the last 6 to 8 weeks about everything that we've been working on and doing, and would love to hear straight from the CEO himself about your thoughts on software and what's been happening.
Thanks, Ivana. I've been looking forward to spending a little bit of time with you and sharing some of the things with our members. And what a wonderful day! What a wonderful way to spend a Friday morning, or it's morning in California. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I know software as a team has, we've been talking about it nonstop, 6 to 8 weeks. We've made a lot of improvements and a lot of fixes and we've implemented a lot of things. So we are all excited to hear what some of those things look like and where we've come.
Yeah. So let me before we get into the call, Divana, let me just talk a little bit about just what the last couple of months have looked like. But even over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of focus on, software development, improving the content, and really kind of building this platform where people can be inspired to make something. We can quickly help them find a project to make something, and then ultimately be able to design it and make it in real life, right? So overall, I think that's going to continue forever, right, for the longest time. However, in the last couple of months, as we introduced some features, as we started to accelerate, our software development in a few different areas in the last several months, we landed up introducing some bugs that have impacted a number of users. And I want to talk about that for a second. But first of all, when we internally look at bugs and when we look at glitches that somebody has, the way our culture is, we don't look at it just as, oh, that's bug number 442, or that's bug number 45. The team is really good at translating that to saying, hey, somebody needed to do a birthday project, and now we've created a hiccup for them.
Right.
Somebody needed to ship some orders to a client, and now they can't do it, or it took them too long. So we take this incredibly seriously and personally, across the team. So I want to assure people saying, we understand your feedback, we take it very seriously, and we are committed to not only solving these issues, but also to making sure that we mitigate and prevent many of these issues in the future.
Yes, I can agree with that. Every meeting that we are in, it is a very personal conversation. It is we've got to do better for our customers. So I agree with you 100% on that.
So, over the last few weeks, we've been soliciting feedback from members on social platforms. We have worked with member care. We have, across the board, really try to understand and replicate the issues. And I'll talk a little bit about, how these issues got there in the first place. But first, let me just say, it's been a lot of feedback that we've been soliciting. We've been able to reproduce many of these bugs, and our team is actively working very, very hard to fix them. So my goal for today, at the in addition to talking about specifics, is to reinforce we take your feedback very seriously. We are working very hard to make sure that we provide you an incredibly smooth, frictionless experience. And we're going to continue to focus our efforts on improving the reliability, improving performance, and actually enhancing usability. So we can get into the specifics.
Yeah. Another thing I just want to mention too is when you get into the specifics, we release these notes like weekly. Like every time we do an update, we have a release notes that we send out on Cricut Help. So the easiest way to find that is Cricut Help and then just search release notes. And if you look at that document, it is incredible the amount of fixes that have happened over the last 6 to 8 months. So if anyone's ever wondering if there is something has been fixed, that's the best resource to go and check that out.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that has looked like for you and the teams? What have we put in place and have been working on for those?
So let me give you a quick update on where we are and what the team's been working on over the last 6 to 8 weeks. So we've done a number of releases, and as Divana said, those release notes are available on our site. People can look for them. And I won't go into every single detail because then we'll be here for a long time. But let me just kind of talk about some high-level buckets. So first of all, we've done software releases across all our platforms, right? From iOS to Android to, our desktop, both Mac and PC. On iOS, where we'll start, we have made a lot of improvements through text editing, and we have fixed some of the issues that people are facing. And these are not like big issues. Some of these are just frustrating. If I double click a middle word, why does the cursor jump, right? So simple things, but text editing fixes, alignment, making sure that we have addressed some issues around curved text. So lots of issues around the mobile platform.
Mhm.
On desktop, we have been focusing a lot on fonts, where people are we are addressing issues around when people are changing fonts, right? We fixed displaying font previews specifically when it came to system fonts. So, making sure that those previews work correctly, even some of the rendering of font changes. We have a team actually dedicated. So not only have we fixed some of these issues, but we have a team that is dedicated to improving the fonts experience. And I'm really excited as to what the team's roadmaps look like. So not only are we going to fixed some of these issues, you will see significant improvements to content and to much of the font handling than we've ever had before. So I'm excited about that.
I am too. That's a really strong team that you put together to focus on fonts. I love them. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Other things that, there was some issues around save project related fixes. So people's ability to open up some of the old projects. In one case, when, we had to ensure that saving the project, for a shared project didn't revert to an older version.
Mhm.
So you saved the project, you shared it. When you shared it, it reverted back to an older project. So we had to fix that. A number of other things which affected, some specific instances where projects saving was impacted. So I think you'll see a number of that. One area that let me focus on, and it's in fact, we're experiencing some issues right now, is around uploads.
Yes, I've seen that.
As we launched some features in the last several months, we impacted some of the specific instances of uploads, and that created, I would say, majority of our upload related issues.
Mhm.
We have fixed vast majority of these issues. However, more recently, as we are fixing some of these issues, there are specific file types that if people have used on Inkscape, we are having a field issue around that. It's a good example of our team quickly recognizing that, being able to reproduce, the issue, and our team is busy at work. We hopefully will see a fix in the next few, hopefully in the foreseeable future.
All right. I just got off a meeting actually that they put a temporary fix in our beta. So if someone is experiencing those uploaded issues, if they switch over to beta, they should be able to upload those until we can get a permanent fix in production. So I love how quickly they reacted to something that they seen happening in the community, because that happened pretty quickly. So definitely appreciate their hard work on that.
Yeah. And let me kind of just rattle off very quickly some of the other things or categories of things. Number of issues. Again, I would encourage people to read the release notes. Number of issues around project and profile shares. There were a few fixes around that. Some users were not able to bookmark or follow and unfollow. A few specific instances of undo and redo, map preview improvements. So, a pretty feverish pace to address many of these things that were in the field.
Yeah. And it seems like the last few months or so, there have been more than usual bugs that have been released, right? Can you talk a little bit about what you and our team have done additionally to make sure that we catch those before they go out into production?
Yeah. So first of all, let me just quickly, I talked about it in the beginning, but let me kind of recap it again, right? As we increase our software development pace, and as we continue to develop new features at a faster pace, we were releasing software every week almost. We were doing an update, right? And the way we kind of architected some of our, software development processes, without intention, we actually realized that created some issues, right? And we've gone back and taken a hard look at how to organize ourselves, how to build in processes, and how to make sure that we can, while we want to continue to improve the software, we at the same time don't, introduce bugs in the field, right? So now, one of the challenges that any company of our size and any company that has millions and millions of people using our software is to replicate a mass amount of combinations of browsers and OSs and machines that they are using our platform with, and computers that may be several years old, right? Now, obviously, we want to make sure that our system is compatible, but despite the fact that we have a very rigorous quality team, a big QA team, sometimes it's hard for us to understand as we launch it into the field, the issue. It's hard. It's sometimes become very difficult to simulate what issues may exist. So we have put in a number of practices. We've actually bolstered things that we are already doing and added new things. So let me go into details on each of those. One is, we've introduced kind of 3 checkpoints, right? One is we basically added an alpha point where an alpha release where our internal teams and our quality teams around the world are testing that some of the new features that we are launching. Many of you may or may not know, but there's a beta version of the app which can be downloaded right from inside our app, where you can go select which version of Design Space you want to download. And we have thousands of people who use that. And we use that platform to get feedback and make sure that people don't experience issues. And then finally, something that we used to do already, which is that when we roll things into production, we actually only introduce it bit by bit, right? We'll introduce it to 1% of users, and then we'll introduce to 5% of users. And we observe customer service phone calls, we observe log files, and if we see errors happening, we will slow down the release or undo the release, right? We'll pull it back. There used to be a certain time frame when we used to go from 0% to 100%. And now we've made a decision that many of the major features, the rollout will happen over a much longer runway. So that would allow us to really understand the nuances of issues as we continue to increase the number of users who are getting that feature. So I think that's a significant change. We have put in massive amounts of systems in addition to what we already had in terms of understanding and reporting on logs. We have, added more bench strength to our quality teams. And, across the board, like our commitment is to make sure that we get to a point where we see less and less of these issues happening as we release new software. One final point, and Devana, maybe you can comment on it, is we are building upon the integration between our member care team and our development team. But can you talk to our members about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is another level of care that happened, I believe, with member care. So this focus is across all teams. It doesn't matter whether you're in member care, in marketing, in sales, in software. Everyone is focused on making sure that our members can quickly create the projects that have inspired them, and they can get those projects made and enjoyed without any stress or any issues going on. So one of the things with member care is that when we call, member care is now integrated closer with the software team, and they have member care experts that actually participate in the software meetings every week as well. So they are very well aware of what is happening, what the software team is working on. And then they can also share that feedback that they are receiving on a daily basis as to what are the top concerns our members are having. So calling member care is really the ideal way to let us know that you have a problem, between that and obviously reporting it back within Design Space, right? So those 2 ways, you get on our weekly meeting, you get on our calls, your problems get on our weekly calls. We talk about it. We talk about that member in Mississippi who had a problem making her birthday card for her son. Like, we get real specific as to what is actually going on, and we want to make sure that we are there for that member to make that birthday card. So the quicker our members can report those issues back through Design Space or calling member care, those are the best ways to get those bugs handled quickly. But I love what you mentioned earlier about slowing down the process, right? Because one of the things that we hear a lot is that we update constantly. And we were there for a while. It was a weekly cadence that we were doing that. So I think slowing that down is definitely going to make a big difference, and us taking the time to really see how it's affecting our members and pulling that back when we need to. So I was very excited for that change.
So let me reinforce one way our members can help us. You know, anytime, and this goes across the board, when somebody has an issue, the more they can give us specifics rather than saying, hey, I messed up my project or my font doesn't work. If you can tell us exactly what is happening. And one of the best ways for it to automatically, for this process to improve is when people report stuff through Design Space.
Yes.
Right now, I want to reinforce that when I'm encouraging people to report a bug through Design Space, and maybe we can talk about in the comment section, Divana, how people can do that if people don't know. It really helps us because we can capture a lot of information from your system and from what browser you're using and what exactly happened. So my hope is that more and more people submit bugs or submit an issue that they're facing. That system generates an email to our quality team. Even I get that email, right? So I can read what's happening. Now, the only caution I would give is that, if you're having a hardware issue, if you're having a shop issue, that is not the best place to submit something. That system is going to the software development teams, not to our, shop teams or supply chain teams or member care teams. So for hardware issues, please continue to use the existing formats, which is call member care, chat, etc. But if you have a software issue that you're experiencing, the best way to report that issue in a constructive way that has specifics is through Design Space. Divana, maybe you should talk a little bit about, what we've talked a lot about what we've done. Maybe we should talk a little bit about what we're doing.
Are you going to give us some inside information?
So again, I don't get in trouble. But let me just first talk about, we have a culture of constantly listening and improving, right? So while I've talked about the releases that have happened, there's a lot of releases that are coming. And, I can give a brief preview of features, but let me focus on new enhancement. But let me just focus on the core things, as I said at the beginning of the call. We want to improve performance, we want to enhance reliability, and we want to make usability even better, right? So we are working on a number of Canvas performance improvements, right? So sometimes we notice that people have like literally massive amount of files on the Canvas. People have uploaded an SVG or 5 SVGs all on the same canvas. So sometimes people don't even replace a project, but they have lots and lots of hidden files. So how do we make sure that we are handling, we can either inform the user that their system is running low of memory, or we can scale the performance of the canvas. I just want to go off on a tangent for 1 second. And just some people may understand this, but some people may not, which is there's a huge difference between a file that is to be printed, a raster image or a graphics image, versus a vector-based image, which is what Cricut and cutting machines use. When you take a raster image and you make it bigger or smaller, or especially when you make it bigger, there is no data and it gets further pixelated, right? But if you take a vector image, it has data around every node. And when you make that file bigger, we have to calculate all the thousands of nodes. So a vector-based image actually has data that is being calculated on the fly to make sure that your file cuts properly, right? So not to go into a big kind of 101 on how vector files work.
No, but that's helpful because we see that a lot, right? We see those complaints a lot. So that is very helpful to know that difference.
Right. There's improvements around stickers that we are working on. There's improvements around text. I talked about fonts, undo, copy, Bluetooth connectivity issues, print and cut accuracy. there's just a lot in the works, and I'm really excited. Now, I talk a lot about fixes, right? Or enhancements and improvements. We have a huge focus on, making Design Space on one hand easier to use, and on the other hand more powerful. And we have to kind of strike the right balance between the two things. I am incredibly excited about the future. Every day, I know that some people experience issues, but every day we have millions of people. Every week we have millions of people, right? Maybe not every day, but every week we have millions of people coming in. Every quarter we have, 3.5, 4 million users that come in.
Right.
But cut, not only to design. And we can actually see people from the time they start designing to the time they start cutting, and if the cut completed accurately.
Yeah.
So I want to reinforce that, there's some great amount of creativity that's happening. I also want to acknowledge that some people do experience issues. And as I said, as we talked about in the last 20 to 25 minutes, we are taking you very seriously, and we are working really hard to understand the issues, replicate and reproduce them, and make sure that you have a great experience as you make projects. So I think you'll be excited.
I am. I've heard little tidbits of some of those changes, and I'm so excited. And one of the things, as you were just talking, that just came to my mind is how far we've come in the last 10 years, right? So I was a crafter pre the Explorer, where we had the little cartridges and we had to look through the little books, and just the amount, just how far we've come in the last 10 years has been incredible. Design Space is such an inspirational place to be when you go to the home, and all of the work that the teams have done to do projects for you, images for you, all of that incredible inspiration is just wonderful. And I know that there are some great things coming. So I'm super excited about what the future holds for us.
Duana, I just want to take this opportunity. First of all, thank you for doing what you do every day, and your entire team. I know you have an incredible team that helps people on our social platforms. I also want to thank our members. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve you. Thank you for giving us feedback in a way that allows us to make the system better for everybody. And, I always tell my team at Cricut, these are early days, and, we are excited about the future, and I think you will be as well. So have a wonderful rest of the Friday, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone.